What's the most unreasonable demands you have ever had from a roommate? 3 weeks before I was to move out of a place, my replacement moved in. My roommate had apparently told her it was okay, so now 3 people lived in an apartment meant for 2. From what I could tell, all she did was sit on the couch and watch TV. A week before I was to move out, a friend of mine came over to help me pack. Apparently, the replacement thought I was moving out that day and that she could finally move into my room instead of sleeping in a common area. When she found out that wasn't the case, she got upset with my friend. Over the next week she asked me repeatedly, so when are you moving out? I told her it would be the end of the month because I couldn't move into my new apartment until then. She said I should have moved out sooner. What I think happened is my roommate told her I was moving out the prior month and that I was overstaying my welcome. For your information, if your former roommate was collecting double rent, that's usually pretty illegal. He wanted me to do his laundry each week while he was gone because of his ever-changing work schedule. If I didn't do his laundry, he'd help himself to my underwear and socks if he ran out, and just start wearing my stuff without asking until I did his laundry. Wearing another man's underwear without his consent should be a criminal offense. One roommate would leave the house without their keys. Not because they forgot them, but because he did not like having keys, ever. The request was to stop locking the door when I left the house. Not really a demand, but just a crappy roommate. When I was in the dorms in college, I roomed with this dude who I didn't know. This dude played football and was about 300+ pounds. Well, the problem is he wouldn't shower, ever. Like, no freaking joke. Our room smelled like hot mayonnaise and BO. I would spray and clean. Well, eventually I got nose blind. This mother finally got a girl to come to the room. When she asked him why it stank, I heard him whisper it's him. I freaking blew up. I asked Ole girl whose side looked like it would stink. My side was spotless while his was full of half-eaten food and sweaty clothes. She ended up agreeing and leaving. The only cleaning he did was when he would come back from practice was take off his sweaty clothes. He would then proceed to Febreze them, then go take a nap. Luckily the room was really big. Finn. I died inside when you said it smelled like hot mayo. You have my utmost sympathy as someone that hates mayo with every fiber of my being. And that guy sounds like a freaking douche. She told me I needed to stay somewhere else overnight because her new boyfriend was staying for the first time. I said if she'd given me more notice then I could have maybe sorted something. But she told me 2 hours before I needed to leave. So what did you do? My freshman year in college, he insisted on having 2 box fans placed in our open window, one facing in, one facing out, in order to circulate the air. Seems like no big deal, right? Until you realize that he insisted they be on full power every night of the year. Didn't matter if it was August or January. Didn't matter if it was 100 degrees outside or -10. My bed was the closest to the window, and if I tried to get up to turn them off he would get hostile. Frick that guy. Shove one fan up his butt and the other down his throat to circulate the air. I have the master bedroom with the bathroom and pay $65 more a month for this. My roommate, whose room is on my side of the house, gets to use my bathroom because we agreed he could. He lets his one-night stands and drunk friends walk through my room when I'm not there to use that bathroom rather than the other one closer to the front door. I'm now missing 2 phone chargers and a pair of $100 headphones, but I'm missing them because I must have misplaced them. Not really a roommate, but a little stepbrother. He's 12. He wants to rotate beds from week to week. So I sleep in my bed, then the next week my other stepbrother's bottom bunk, then the next week his top bunk. I don't want to sleep in either one of your beds. That's why it's called my bed. Just go to sleep. Clearly you have the best bed. On Movier day my sophomore year of college, I was cleaning my half of the dorm room. Mind you, the room had been a mess before. Both me and my roommate were messy people, so the mess itself didn't bother us much. So cleaning my half took quite a while. But by the end of it all of my stuff was packed in my car and I was ready to go. When I was done my roommate said I'll have my stuff packed up in an hour. I asked her why she was telling me that, and she said it was so I could finish cleaning. I took one look at her, set down the bag of cleaning supplies, and said, Here's all the stuff you need. Then I turned in my key and left. Like heck am I going to stay behind an hour later than I needed to mop the floor and clean the surfaces of your side of the room when you did jack all to help me. Had a roommate in college who refused to take his keys with him when he went out to the bar because he didn't want a lump in his pocket. He would then come home after everyone else was already asleep, and when the doors were locked he would start pounding on the door and shouting, "This is balls. I freaking live here," until he woke somebody up and got them to go downstairs and let him in. Oh frick me, that would not fly. We had several rooms and one was huge, meant for 2 or 3 people. It had a sink and 2 walk-in closets. After signing the lease she announced that she needed that giant room to herself because she had PTSD and OCD. She wouldn't explain herself any further and threw a passive-aggressive tantrum for a month when we refused to cram ourselves into the 2 tiny rooms with 4 people so that she could have the big one to herself. We told her that she could be in the big room with another roommate, but she didn't want that. She just chose the small room eventually. We never heard the end of it either. It was always our fault that she was late to school because she didn't have a private bathroom and crap. Before you ask, yes, this person was in therapy, but according to her she was in therapy because she needed to learn to be less selfless and put herself first. She'd frequently use that as an excuse to be selfish. My therapist thinks I need to put myself first. I had a roommate who moved out without warning about 2 months before my lease was up. She pretty much disappeared and left most of her stuff in the apartment. She also did not pay up for her remainder of rent. 3 years later I get a phone call from her. I am living 1,500 miles away and have been in several different apartments, in several different states. During the interim, she says I need to ship her all of her furniture and belongings immediately. What do you mean you dragged everything out to the curb the week after I left? You are a terrible roommate. You owe me for the value of my things. I stopped answering her calls and eventually she gave up. I would have sold them all. That I try having sex with him. For clarification, I'm a straight guy and didn't know he was gay. He said that I might like it, but I'd never know if I didn't try it. I'd planned to spend my birthday evening quietly reading and watching Italian murder mysteries. Roommates announced I needed to go make plans because they were having friends over and didn't want it to be awkward. The friends they were inviting were always incredibly rude to me, so I smiled and said sure, I'll make plans, and invited 3 of our neighbors and half my creative writing class over to eat cake and watch Italian murder mysteries, and my crappy roommates had to go to their friend's apartment instead. A malicious compliance. He was germaphobe and a bit stupid. He wanted all the other housemates to completely scrub the tub with cleanser after we took a shower so he wouldn't come in contact with bud wash water or something. We laughed at him and told him he could disinfect the tub himself before he showered if he was so worried. Not me or any roommate situation I've had, but you know when you have a friend complain about something, and you only hear their side of the story? If you still think they're wrong, they must be extra wrong, right? My friend S told me that her roommate forgot his keys at home one night. This sucks, because he works late. He rings the doorbell. She wakes up all angry, opens the window, and says, "Oh, that's too bad, but it's late. Go back to your office to sleep." Rather than just accept his apology and open the door, she told him to go back to his workplace, sleep there, and just come home some other time. She was telling me this story as if I'd be like, the nerve of this guy, trying to come home. Instead, my initial reaction was, man, that's freaking annoying that he woke you up, which very quickly changed to what the whole frick is wrong with you by the end of the story. There's a fun thing about conversation. If you just agree and offer empathy, people will tell you just about anything. Then you can tell them what an awful person they are. I moved in first to our 3-person dorm room, so I picked the prime bed. None of us knew each other before this. We were all in a bind for housing, and lo and behold, she and her family shows up and gives me the stink for having the gall to take the good bed. I got along really well with my other roommate, but this girl started using all our stuff and staring at us when we slept or did homework. We got ants because she never cleaned the kitchen. She would hide dirty plates and bad food in the back of the very deep pantry instead of cleaning or throwing it away. She wouldn't let us have friends over, but felt the need to loudly talk on the phone at all hours. I lost it when she left a pair of sweatpants on the floor of our shared closet with actual crap in them. We searched for a different room for her and made her move out. I still have the hate letter she wrote me the day she left. Post the letter. I met my first roommate on Craigslist. First red flag. I wasn't allowed to keep my music above volume 10 after 9 or 10 p.m. She, however, sang gospel songs loudly in the living room until 4 or 5 in the morning. Every single day, I had to open my mail in front of her, otherwise she'd open it because it looked important. Aside from this being totally illegal, why the frick do you need to read my bank statements? She texted me when I got an Amazon package. Oh, your shoes got here, because she'd open it and dig around before I got a chance to. She neither cleaned, as in her mother still came over every weekend to clean her bedroom and bathroom. She let her trash accumulate near her spot on the couch throughout the week. Clearly didn't give a crap about her living environment. But God forbid I put the television remote anywhere besides the right arm of the couch. I wasn't allowed to turn the heat on in the winter to save money. I live in the mountains of North Carolina, and winters are pretty harsh. She would rather freeze than pay an extra $15 per month. Over the summer though, I wasn't allowed to open the windows so no one breaks in. My apartment was either in the 50s, 60s or the 80s. She didn't like when I used the kitchen to cook. Weird, but she would hand wash her period panties in the kitchen sink, even though we each had a private bathroom. Frick you, Rebecca. Not yet a roommate, but started to make outrageous demands. There was a time I was leasing out the spare bedroom of my home, and here were the few weird crazy requests I got. Elderly lady thought the room for rent also includes me to take care for her as a caregiver and drive her around. She also demanded I install a ramp on my porch. A couple was so sure I would select them as a roommate. I told them of my no pets policy, went to my yard and started to plan out how they plan to fence off a section for their doggy. Hello lady, this is my home. Got mad when I told them I was turning down their application. For your information, I have nothing against dogs. I have cats that happen not to play well with others, hence the no pets policy. Had an actual roommate that refused to pay the bill because she was broke and would close the door on me and expected me to pay for her pa. Yet she was out all night partying and getting expensive weaves. She left her email open at my PC and I saw the cost. Told her I can pay her part and we will get evicted if the rent is not paid on time. She left a week later. With the ramp lady, if she didn't expect you to be a caregiver under the Fair Housing Act, you may have been required to do it. Maybe not though. There is a restriction for landlords that own over 4 homes. Whatever. I've added nothing. I had one roomie announce one day that he was going to stop paying his share of the rent. I explained that no rent equals no room. He thought that was unreasonable and went around telling people I was cold. Butthole. He wanted his girlfriend to move in rent-free. This girl used my cookware and never cleaned it. She took forever in the shower. We put an end to that real quick. My roommate had her hookup move in with us without consulting me. Wondered why this dude was at our place 24/7 and found out from my other roommate that he was now living with us. We never saw a dime from him and she probably didn't either. My roommate wanted me to freeze all food trash. Like not even take it out so the can doesn't smell. He wanted it piled up in the freezer until trash day in little plastic bags. Some serial killer stuff. My current roommate. I owned the house and I did an assload of work to clean out the garage so I could turn it into man cave. He did absolutely jack to help and most of the work was cleaning up piles of recycling he never took out. Now it's cleared. He wants to park his car in there, but there's actual stuff taking up half of the garage, so only he would be able to park in there while the other roommate and I park on the street and not use the driveway so he can get in and out. He thinks I'm being unfair by not letting him park there. Also, he cooks and never cleans and has more than once let leftovers rot in my Tupperware and then thrown it out instead of cleaning it and not replaced it. My ex-roommate did this with all my forks. Only ate takeout. Couldn't be bothered to wash a fricking fork. I hate her. This happens every time I move in with someone. Every single time. They tell me I don't do any dishes ever, which is very true. What I have to keep reminding them is I have 1 plate, 1 bowl, 1 fork, 1 knife, and 1 spoon. I'll keep them in my room at all times. Always wash them immediately after I'm done using them and bring them right back into my room. Always hilarious to hear their response. My cousin kept losing roommates. Moved in to help him out. Requested I don't flush the toilet after 8 because if not he could not sleep. I note the frick out of that. Had an actress roommate who on random Saturdays or Sundays said she needed the entire apartment to herself to study her lines. I rarely had anyone over to begin as I was usually out and about, but this particular Sunday there were like 4 of us in the living room watching Mythbusters. LOL. I only include this to show that it's not like we were watching NFL screaming, shouting, being drunk. She legitimately thought this was not okay and that everyone should leave to accommodate her. Anyone who thinks like this should live by themselves. I'll never understand how people who want to split costs to save money still think people should accommodate them. When I have roommates I realize that if I want peace and quiet I sometimes need to remove myself and go to the library or something. That's the price you pay to save money. I had a roommate who didn't want me in the common area, the living room, dining room and kitchen, because she studies there even though all of our rooms came equipped with desks for the purpose of studying. We never got to use the dining table because her stuff was always on it. I told her I wasn't going to stop using the common area and she said I was rude, LOL. Oh well. Bit late here, but I had a female flatmate get quite irate about the hair in the shower drain, which was hers. I am bald. She expected me to remove it for her. When I was a freshman in college, I lived in a dorm suite with 4 other girls, 3 single rooms and 1 double, which I shared with a roommate. One of the girls who lived in the single rooms was a real piece of work. Every slight change in the suite would drive her nuts, and she'd always be knocking on our door demanding an explanation for some minute thing or another. One time she knocked on my door only to show me a tiny scrap of ham and a piece of cereal pinched between her fingers. There was meat and cookie crisp on the kitchen floor. "Is this yours?" "Yes," I said. "You can throw those away." I also came home to her crying in the living room once because another of our suitemates put a monster poster on the front door for a Halloween decoration and it scared her. I guess those things don't sound too just out of context, but she'd knocked to tell me she moved my food from the table to the counter, and just general tiny stuff like that. Very strange. That they should get the master bedroom because they are older. 10 years or so ago my GF and I were wanting to live together. We wanted to do it properly and spent a lot of time and money getting ready, buying furniture, appliances, kitchenware, bedding, cleaning supplies, etc. All the things one needs to fill a house. Towards the end of this process when we were actually house hunting the idea was hatched that my GF's older sister and her boyfriend should move out with us. We found a house that we liked, applied to rent it and got in. The day of the move came and it became apparent that both couples assumed that they would get the bigger, better, master bedroom. Their argument, "We're older." Our argument, "We found the house, did the legwork, completed the application and the whole thing was our idea." Their counter argument, "But you get to have the carport and we don't." Our counter argument, "Neither of you even have a car or a license. Plus, we are supplying this house with all of its furniture, appliances, cookware, cutlery, crockery and everything else for us all to use. You have only brought a bed, your clothes and a TV. The TV started off in the living room but they soon moved it to their own room so we didn't even get to use that. 6 months later we moved out after buying a house and they stayed. Obviously we took everything with us when we left. They literally couldn't believe that we would be taking our own things with us. They wanted us to leave things behind for them to have. In the days leading up to us moving out we had things packed away in boxes. They would go through the boxes, take out a knife, chopping board, pots, pans, plates, etc. and cook a meal with it. Then when I come home and ask them why my packed boxes are all over the place and now need to be cleaned again, they got mad at me for packing the things away. After we left that place was basically empty. They didn't even have the foresight to buy a fridge, let alone all the kitchenware needed to cook and eat food. We did end up selling them the dining table and chairs as we bought a new one for our new house. But they were the only chairs they had for a long while. No couch or armchairs. Not even a cushion or beanbag. And because neither of them had a car or license it was very difficult for them to buy things and get them to the house. But of course this was all our fault for not donating half our crap to them when we just put ourselves $220,000 in debt. They ended up breaking up. The missus and I are still together, in the same house we bought with our 3 kids. My first semester of college I had a roommate who was only 18. When he found out I was old enough to buy alcohol, he came up with a grand plan for me to buy alcohol so he could throw amazing parties. Did he plan to give me any money for these purchases? No. Was I going to be invited to these parties at our place? No. In fact, he was planning on having them all the weekends I wouldn't be at our place. When he moved out, his parents both damaged some of my electronics and stole some of my stuff. So I assume his entire family is a bunch of buttholes. He, 36M, said that he was okay with me getting a cat, so I was looking online at some shelter cats. I found this orange 5-year-old cat who needed at home, so I was excitedly talking to him about it when he tells me that I can't get this cat because he is allergic to the orange ones. That I'll leave my collateral when I move out. I'd get it when she moves out as well. In case there are any issues caused by you I don't notice when you move out. Say what? How about you freaking check it properly then? I have so many stories, but here is one of my favorites. I moved in with an actual crazy cat lady who was housebound because of a spinal issue, and apparently at the time of my moving in hadn't been outside her front door in 2 years. In the ad she indicated she was in a wheelchair. She was not and could actually still get around fine, just not quickly. She was very obese and I'm sure had some mental issues. The house was in a quiet suburban area tucked around a corner at the end of a row, so not the easiest target for random break-ins. Despite this, she insisted I double lock the door every time I left the house, even to go to the corner shop for 5 minutes while she was sat a few feet away in the lounge watching TV. She pretty much never left that spot except to haul herself to the kitchen to microwave another supermarket brand pasta pot, or upstairs to bed in the early hours of the morning. One day about a month after I moved in, I was in a rush leaving for work and didn't double lock the door. I came home as normal, and as I walked in she abruptly turned off the TV and turned to look at me with a crazy look in her eye and said, "You forgot to lock the door today. I told you to always lock the door." I said, "Sorry, I was in a rush, I'll remember next time etc." And she continued, "I'll have you know someone broke into the house and threatened me with a knife. Tried to kill me and my cats." I questioned the details trying to figure out if this was bulls or not, and she kept throwing up vague answers about a man and oh well the police were here but they couldn't do anything. They didn't bother writing a report and technically nothing got stolen, but he could have easily done. You're lucky he didn't, otherwise you'd be paying for my flat screen TV and my cats. He could have taken them. I pretty much half baffled, half terrified laughed at her, and she demanded I leave her house immediately for being disrespectful to her and her cat's potential murder. I refused, so she threatened to throw my stuff out the window, which I welcomed openly, and she shut up and did nothing. I slept with a barricade in front of my bedroom door until I moved out 2 weeks later, because all she did after that was mutter under her breath about hating my guts, and I was convinced she was going to stab me in the night in revenge for her cats. Made up deaths. We should hang out more. Dude, we literally see each other every day, and we have the exact same schedule, so virtually anytime I'm home, you are home too. I don't know what you want from me, and this was well before it was common to watch shows on your phone or computer. We had one TV, and we would be in the living room together almost every day. No, I mean we should hang out more. Places his hand on yours slowly. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.